Alright, Pontus, listen to your own
First
words
seven
here.
is pretty interesting because I feel like this is kind of what this deck wants to do, but I don't think this is a good thing to be doing. And you might be saying, what? You have a Collector Oof versus Kinnan and 2 blue farms. And I'm here like, yes, but my hand doesn't really do anything except for that. I'm kind of pigeonholed into playing this turn 2 Collector Oof, not even casting my turn 2 Tevesh, and then just playing the slow game. And while that might be able to work, that might get there, I am very much banking on them not just having a bounce ball. So this hand looks very good, but I actually think it's pretty bad. And you might say, Pontus, you're crazy. What the heck are you doing?
You're crazy.
But I'll actually keep it though. Just so keep this discussion in mind that I kept this hand, but I still think it's a bad keep. I think this is one of those hands that looks better than it is, and when it actually plays out, you end up just losing anyways, even though you had the perfect answer. Probably I'm gonna lose because of it, but here we go. See, this is more as an experiment.
So
I'm such a smart player.
Fun fact is,
I'm just right.
You're actually wrong because you
I
won.
know.
So spoilers alert, this is from a gameplay video as you see post-game talk, and you won the game though. But
I did win the game.
You did win the game. With the trap hand.
With a trap hand that doesn't actually win the game and plays out pretty badly, yes.
Okay, so this is the hand that you considered bad.
That I kept.
That you kept, yes, correct. This is the hand that you kept. So you have 2 lands, basically, an Elves of Deep Shadow, Jeweled Lotus, Abrupt Decay, Collector Roof, and Reanimate. And your commanders were Kodama and Tevesh. You're going Golgari.
Yes.
So why and what's in your mind?
So we can start with this. The reason it looks good is because I have 2 lands. That's decent. I have a Dork turn 1. I have a Jeweled Lotus. Like, that's a good start. That's a lot of mana, especially for commanders. I can play, if I wanted, I could play turn 2 Kodama, though this hand doesn't really have a payoff for that.
I think turn 2 Tevesh is where you want to be, right?
Yeah, turn 2 Tevesh is represented here as well. And I have an Oof to answer all those artifacts. I have an Abrupt Decay. They tried to do some breach shenanigans, or just Kinnan, which is mostly permanent based, just killing Kinnan or the Basalt Monolith. And I have a Reanimate to even enable my game plan or recur the Collector Roof if you kill it.
Yeah.
That's why it looks good.
Yes.
The problems are a bit deeper. So problem 1. This is a turn 2 Tevesh or a turn 2 Collector Roof. You can't do both unless you top deck like a god, which I did, and draw a mana positive rock. In this game, I drew a Sol Ring, which enabled me to do both Collector Roof and Tevesh in the same turn, which I think is the reason I actually had got to win this game. I think if I didn't do that, I would still probably lose, because if you actually look at the game...
So we're here early in the game. You start by turn 1 Elves of Deep Shadow, and everyone starts to put value stuff into play. We have Fish, we have an Esper Sentinel, Sylvan Library, so there you go.
So if you pause here to look at what people have in hands, we can see that in your hand, you have, next turn, you have 6 mana, if you choose to cast that Calling the Weak. You actually have 7 mana because of the Cabal Ritual, the Simian Spirit Guide. You have a Windfall, and you have a Wish Claw. So if you want to do a very all-in play, which is still pretty good though, is you can just cast the Wish Claw Talisman, cast the Windfall, and probably, like, there's a huge chance you can actually piece together a win from there, if the Oof is into play.
Yep.
Annis just has straight up Nos main phase his next turn if he wants to crack the LED to cast the Nos, which is a bit all in, but it's something he can do if he wants to force the issue. Untapping first at turn 3, just jamming, can sometimes work out. He can also go for some Dockside shenanigans with the Force Backup and the Vamp Tutor if he wants to as well. So he has a lot of options to just go for it.
Not to mention Jordan, who has
Scepter in hand already. In a weird spot because he has a lot of mana, but it's kind of awkward for him to get there.
He has a Sylvan Library.
He needs to cast another artifact.
Probably draw forward.
Yeah, Sylvan Library helps, but he's not winning before my next turn. So turn 3 Oof still gets him.
But me and Anis could potentially win turn 2, or both of our turn 2. On the other hand, Anis actually passed on his turn 2.
Yeah, but he passed with the Vampiric Tutor, untapping with Force of Will backup, Mana Vault, land, Nos, if he wants. Like, he's still in a good spot. There's the first issue, that if I don't play my turn 2 Oof, there's a huge risk I just lose before I untap again. You could say that this is just one game, but I would say that one of these decks are often able to threaten a win turn 2.
Yes, definitely.
And the only way for me to stop that is the Oof.
Yes.
Of course, there are other dynamics, such as other players responding.
Your argument is that if you do turn 2 Oof without being lucky drawing that Sol Ring, you won't be able to do Tevesh in time, and you will sit and durdle and not grind value.
Yeah, so I have to wait, I think, at least 2 turns to be able to cast that Tevesh. And without that value engine, I'm just sitting there doing nothing. So I'm very incentivized just to be in the game to cast turn 2 Tevesh. And if I do that without top decking the Sol Ring, I don't have the oof to back it up.
And if we fast forward here a tiny bit, we have this coming out from you on turn 2, Tevesh and oof together, which does work because now you have an interaction, but you're also gaining card draw, or Tevesh is a commander that draws cards. That's good. I will honestly agree that if you're just putting a stacks piece into play and starting to top deck, especially looking around the pod, Annis has a fish, Magnus has an Esper Sentinel, Jordan has a Sylvan Library that you can't see behind the Collected Roof, so you're gonna fall behind. That is not what happened. Yeah. The game progressed quite heavily with some braids actually from you, I think.
Yeah, I played the braids because that's the second thing that you have to respect when your whole game plan relies on its stacks piece hitting the field and staying, is the fact that if any of you had just a removal spell for it, there's a huge chance that one of you, for example, Annis, he actually does that later in the game.
Yeah, I think the dress down comes eventually from Annis. Yeah. In the top left corner, there's a dress down. There is the dress down, and you respond with the dress down with an abrupt decay.
Yeah, if you look at your hands, both of you had interaction for his Nose.
Yeah.
So it wasn't actually scary, but I still.
So he basically just puts the Wishclaw Talisman into play, even though there's an oof in play, just to do it anyway.
Even before that, if one of you just had like a snap or like a Deadly Relic because you played the Tymna or like anything like that, there is a huge risk that one of you tries to go for it and then I still just lose.
But as you have Jeweled Lotus, you can get that Tevesh turn 2, and then you have to pass and send Collector Roof turn 3. That's how you have to play this. You can't play turn 2 Collector Roof, because once you do, you won't be able to do Tevesh turn 3, because Jeweled Lotus will be shut down, and once you can't do that, you've lost the game. However, there is a pseudo thing being lucky here. You could reanimate a cool... Let's say my Esper Sentinel died. You could reanimate Esper Sentinel, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I think I actually end up using the reanimate as well. I'm not sure.
I think remember. You do.
I think I do.
But I don't remember on what.
Oh, I used it on the range captain. That's it.
Oh, yeah. That's smart.
Which is a good target. So it's great.
Yep.
Yeah. I kind of think like playing stacks is playing not to lose, and in such a variance heavy format that we are playing, you kind of need to be playing to win to have a decent win rate, or you'll have a decent win rate anyways because of variance, but to be on the positive side of variance, you actually need to be the one asking the questions, not answering them.
I will agree 100% that you are correct with your statement that stacks should not be stacks can let me rephrase this. I think there are a lot of people that are playing stacks wrong, and this is basically why we're doing this video, that if you're putting Collector Roof here into play to not lose, you will simply die later. There's a perfect word called die trying, and you will lose trying. Or well, sometimes you do win in these weird scenarios where you're sitting in top deck, but if you're playing stacks, you're playing the long game, and then when you go to the long game, you have to be able to draw cards, or you have to be able to produce a fast combo win attempt. After you still have to have that high speed turbo combo potential.
And that's kind of where this deck falls behind, because Tevesh doesn't actually draw that many cards when you think about it. He draws 1.5 cards per turn, I think the math comes out as, because every 3 turns you have to not draw a card to make more throws, unless you just keep playing creatures, but then you're casting 1 creature to draw 2, which is fine but not great. I guess you would play a green sorcery spell that just says draw 2 for 1 green.
I think Tevesh is like a fine card, right? It's fine. It's not one of the best. It's a bit expensive CMC for not that many cards, but it is secured card draw.
It's fine as a supplement. It's not fine as the main draw, in my opinion. Like you need another engine, at least another engine, for it to actually be worth it. Or it needs to be like a secondary thing, or like you do Crom Tevesh who both draws cards, which is good. In this hand, you need to be relying on your opponent so much, and even like I won this game, sure, but that's because Jordan didn't draw removal in 50 cards.
Yeah, Jordan should probably have won that game, honestly. For those that haven't watched it, Jordan was extremely unlucky and drew like more than half his deck and didn't find a single piece of removal that he could use, or the Collector Roof.
So like even in this scenario where I got really lucky, you did not have an answer to the Collector Roof. It hit all of you really hard. I still was lucky to pull off the win. With this dream hand, with everything lining up perfectly, I was still lucky in the end to actually pull off the win. And that's kind of because my strategy was a bit weaker. My hand hand was very focused on not losing and instead of winning, which meant I was just like sitting there hoping to not lose each turn, and then finally in the end pulling off a win.
Like the big reason why we're bantering so much on this hand is because that there's a Yule Lotus up there. If that would have been like a Guy's Cradle, I think this would have been a fine keep.
Sure, yeah.
Because you do get your Tevesh turn free. Like turn 2 Collect the Roof, golden, we're happy. But the turn 2 Collect that prevents a turn free Tevesh is bad. But if that's a Guy's Cradle, you're fine. You will still have your turn free Tevesh.
Yeah, that would be a fine hand for sure.
So this was a really strange analyst post-game play about an opening, a very specific opening hand. But we kind of wanted to just broaden the mind here and think that the big message we want to say here to you guys watching who haven't turned off the video already is that when you play stacks, there's I think a big trap you could say here is that if you're playing to not lose, you will probably just lose anyway, because you need to play to win. We're making so much marketing for the play to win guys now.
Right? Should pay us.
But regardless, that's it for us. Thanks for watching.